Hello, friends, and welcome to the Cinemondo podcast.
Cinemondo Cruise.
Yes, the pirate ship of Cinemondo.
That's right. There's our flag.
Cinemondo Pirate
There it
Gang.
is, right there. Skull and crossbones.
That's me right there in the middle.
That's right.
Sitting up and very upright. One Piece. You know, this
One
is
Piece. First time watching.
Yeah, this is new to us. You know, we're just getting into it. We're just, we're going to talk about the fourth arc and the first series. Of course, there's over 1,000 episodes. There's a live action show is going to premiere August 31st on Netflix.
Soon.
So we thought, let's catch up with a little over 1,000 episodes in the next week or so.
Yeah,
we're gonna run parallel though. We're gonna keep watching. We're gonna watch the live action because we'll finish that pretty fast because there's so many episodes. So not gonna be 1,000 episodes. So we'll be able to get through that. And then we'll just keep reviewing the arcs because I'm sure this thing will have a second season. There has to be. It's just too gorgeous.
It's getting a lot of buzz and press and hype and all that. So I think it's positive. It's not. Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of the fan base is hardcore, and when you have a hardcore fan base, you really have to whenever you make a new one, or whenever you do a reboot or a retooling, a redesign or whatever, in other words, turning it from a animated where it really lives as animation or manga, the drawings are so important, but to be able to translate that into live action is something I would never know how to do that. It's like, where would you start to take those broad characters and bring them to flesh? How do you make him stretch his mouth out without looking gross, And
it looks so funny in the trailer.
Really and you can only do your best with it because you're not going to please everybody. That's just not the reality of the fan base of a big show like this. There's going to be people that love it. People are going to go, people say this is not it's not animation. It can't be. It can't be the same show.
Yeah. How could this work?
Yeah. But it'd be fun to watch. And it seems like they're fans of the show and they know what they're doing, at least from the trailers. So it looks very promising. That's why we're excited about it.
Fans are liking this, liking what they're seeing. Yeah. I'm reading the reviews of the trailers and the photographs, little bits and pieces of information that are coming out. And it seems like the fans are like, that looks great. That's exactly how I imagined it, if it was live action, and, so it looks like it's getting that, it's leaning positive.
That's true. And it seems like the creator, Oda Sensei, I think he seems very sincere and very concerned with getting all the details right and make sure that and it's not about fan service. It's about capturing the essence of what One Piece is and what it means to people. And that's like not being cynical, not trying to be too hip. Not, it's about just lean into what One Piece is, just full on like attitude. Yeah. So I think it's going to be very
go with that wild spirit too, which is the anime is nuts. I mean, it's like crazy. You never know what is going to happen, and you never know what a character is going to become or do or transform into or whatever. There's no rules in this world. Oh. And when you apply that to live action, suddenly you have some rules, but if you do it right, you can break certain rules and make it look like you're breaking all the rules, if that makes any sense. So it really can have the spirit of that wild, crazy anime vibe.
Yeah. And the character design, the villain character design is so creative and off the wall. It's just nuts. But I really, so we're going to talk about the Baratie Arc, which I loved because I just finished watching The Bear, which is about this kitchen in Chicago. So I was kind of in the restaurant zone. So I love the whole aspect of this restaurant on the pirate ship.
The Baratie.
I love it. Love it. So I love that they did that. And it's in that they're centering on the main character who was the chef there. So we can get into that.
Yes. I thought it was really fun. The fun arc because it takes place on the Baratie, this ship that's like this oasis, and it's just an interesting idea. Like we're gonna go, Zoro's friends who get cannonballed on this island, inadvertently by Luffy and the crew. And so they go there and say, hey, we can, maybe get a chef because we need a cook for our pirate ship.
Right. So
and
important.
They go there. Yeah, so important to go there. Whether you see this crazy ship that's just so interesting looking. It's like, that's what's so interesting about this show, the creativity. Every little thing is interesting and different and not of this world, which is
it's like the pirates are cooks. You can imagine what craziness.
Whole pirate crew.
And what I loved is they kind of kicked it off. Like they kick it off. We're going to have this new environment coming soon. Like, they're in their new adventure, and they start with kind of a flashback to how Zorro,
right.
his childhood and how he kind of became obsessed with. He was always obsessed, apparently, his whole childhood. Yeah. And I love that little flashback to how he, learns and trains to be a better and better swordsman, and how his biggest competitor was a girl, and that just drove him crazy that a girl is better than him. So,
right.
And it was such a touching story.
Than him. He wanted to be the best.
Yeah.
And you
but the girl was the worst insult.
Yeah, and that was kind of a very tragic sort of backstory once you figured out, that first episode 19. So then you feel for him a bit, and then you get to this pirate ship. I mean, this Baratie, which is it's interesting because everybody in the restaurant's very high end and very sort of it was just like, it was an interesting mix of everything. Is what makes this show so, like, how they thought this stuff up. It's just that's what I love. Every episode has that. So anyway,
and we're introduced to Sanjay, who's one of my favorites because he's such an asshole.
Yeah,
and I love him because he's so arrogant, and he's so and when you think about it, everyone he's encountered so far, everyone Luffy has encountered so far has been kind of top of their game. But they somehow don't quite fit in because they're so caught up in their own, goals and looking for their own treasure or whatever. So, but I love Sanjay because he's always like flirting with the guests. He's always walking around in his suit, looking really cool and doing all the cool food and being like, I'm the chef. He's just being, I don't know, that character.
With a cigarette dangling from his mouth. It's so appealing.
He got the blonde hair, looking
he's a good guy. I mean, their philosophy at the restaurant is that no one will ever be hungry. If you come here, you will always be fed, and that's like this. You think about in the pirate in the pirate life. I think about it. Back when I was a pirate, I was so hungry all the time.
And Luffy's always hungry, so it's kind of perfect.
Luffy always wants meat. And
keep more meat.
More meat. But the thing is, when you're in the open sea, there's like evidently a problem with keeping the food stocked,
and so a restaurant and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. And out in the middle of the ocean, if you're a pirate and you're running out of food and you're hungry, it's like, look, there's a restaurant.
It just happens to be here. Let's go check out this restaurant. What's the address? I don't know, somewhere in the ocean.
Like Stuckey's or something.
Pecan rolls on the sea.
So Sanjay doesn't like to play by the rules, so he doesn't take orders from anybody. He's kind of his own man. So when this starving pirate shows up and he's limping in, and the main kitchen, the guy's actually the main chef in the kitchen who, he's telling him, don't feed this guy, get these guys out of here. He's like, no, I'm going to feed him. So he gives him this food because he cannot resist. Because like you said, he wants everyone to have food and everyone to be happy. Bad move.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to listen to your elders.
But it was kind of a bad move, kind of a good move, kind of a good move that became a bad
understandable
move. Understandable bad move. A good move that then became a bad move again.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's fun about the show, that it just keeps kind of going in these interesting circles. They keeps coming back with but added characters. And I thought Chef Zeph, was that his name?
Yes,
I think so. Yeah.
With this,
Chef Zeph.
With the massive chef's hat that goes all the this story tall.
Right. I was looking at his mustache. Was it coming out of his nostrils? It was kind of freaking me out.
Sometimes it was, but sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes it's here, and then sometimes it's like coming out of the nostril. But sometimes it's resting on the upper lip. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, ooh.
But I also, and so Luffy has to eventually get a job there because he did so much damage, So I love. First of all, it's just hilarious to see him trying to be like a what they call him chore boy, which I thought was hilarious. Chore boy.
Yeah.
They called him chore boy the whole time. And it's just funny to see him kind of doing this menial work. And he kept going, no, I got to get a chef you're going to be my chef. And everybody's like, no, I'm not going to be, I'm not doing it. Nobody really has a choice because Luffy will not stop. So even Chore Boy, as Chore Boy, even then he's still demanding Luffy. He doesn't change.
And being Luffy, he doing the chores is like a backwards kind of a thing, because he's washing dishes and then breaking that. It's like he's like la 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 la, and he's breaking dishes, and it's like you're more trouble than you're worth, which may be part of the plan.
Exactly. Like, I'm just so bad at washing dishes.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
It was a funny little side story of him being Chore Boy, which I liked, and that they all kind of liked him. One
funny, interesting, poignant, powerful thing about the show is always the backstories of the characters, and it's a lot of them are very emotional. A lot of times when we learn a person's backstory, like you were just talking about Zoro's, and you've seen him with the 3 swords and his whole 3-sword technique, and he's got 2 black swords, which you've seen a million samurais with 2 swords, but then he has this 3rd sword that's white. And you always kind of wonder, he's got 2 black swords and 1 white sword that he holds in his mouth, and that's his 3-sword technique. But then you find out where that came from, and there's like sadness and regret and his feelings of like, I never, I shouldn't have been such a jerk, or whatever he feels. You can read so much into it. But also within this episode, Sanji, when he feeds the hungry pirate. You find out why he's so concerned about people being hungry, because there's the backstory about how, Zeph saved his life and made a huge sacrifice for him.
Oh my God, that was such an intense story.
Yeah. And the style of the animation became a little bit different. They all looked like they were scratchy and dirty, and the style of drawings became really edgy and ragged almost. It was really beautiful how they portrayed their desperation in the style of art. Looked like it was scrawled,
Right.
And so he, young Sanji finds out what it really means to be hungry, and also what a sacrifice is, and there's that great scene where he has the bread, and he's like, this bread is moldy, and he
throw it out,
and then he drops it off the edge of this cliff, and it's like
being super wasteful.
Right.
And then we find out who Chef Zeph really is.
Yeah.
Who he really was. It's a famous red leg Zeph.
Right.
And I love when they're on the island. He and Sanji get trapped on this island, and it's kind of Sanji's fault. so they're on the island, and so they're talking about splitting up the food that they have. And I love how angry Sanji is the whole time. He goes, we're going to split the food. Why should I shouldn't get less food than you? And he's like, well, I'm bigger than you, so I'm going to get more food. And so he leaves Sanji there because he's so obnoxious. So he goes up the mountain, and you never see him. You don't see him for a while.
Calls him the brat.
Yes, the brat. And Sanji's sitting down there going, well, I got 5 days of food. It's going to be fine. We're going to see a ship soon. Of course, next, cut to no food. He's getting really skinny. And he's kind of like, whatever happened to Red Leg Zep? What?
Yeah.
So he kind of starts looking for him. That was the most heartbreaking. Like, that still haunts me. That whole scene where he goes to find, Red Leg Zep, and he sees him sitting on the edge of a cliff, and he's yelling at him going, look at all that food you have, because he sees the big bag. You still have all this food. I'm going to take it. Runs in there and finds out there is no food. That he took he didn't have any food. He gave all of the food.
He gave Sanji all the food, I think.
Oh, it was so sweet. And then you find out what he was actually eating, which wasn't good.
Well, see, now was he eating his leg?
That's what I got. Like when he looked down, he went, oh, that's what I was getting the impression of. He cut off his leg to survive.
Because I thought because when you see the other flashback, you find out his leg was stuck, and he got the anchor, and he wrapped the anchor chain around his leg and dropped the anchor, and the weight of the anchor pulled the chain and tore his leg
my one better. It's creepier.
So that he could swim down and save Sanji, and that's the sacrifice, that he was otherwise trapped. But
I like the cannibal angle.
I thought that too. That was my first impression.
Because he looks at him, he's looking at his leg like, oh shit. Like,
how is he still alive? He's a big guy. He hasn't been eating.
Right. It was so heartbreaking. That whole thing was so intense.
I mean, I guess they left it up to question, but then how did he go?
Then they fill in the blanks.
Back and get his leg and then eat it? Or, why not just get a fish, But
I mean, they were on that
true.
island for like 80 days, or I think it was 80th day they got rescued or something. So how do you survive 80 days without food?
And they made a point to show that you couldn't get down to the ocean because he said, "What do we just catch fish?" And he said, "You can't get down to the ocean because then you won't be able to get back up because the island is shaped like a big broccoli." You know,
I would find a way.
Yeah,
maybe a rope or something. There's got to be a way down there. I don't know.
There's some beautifully rendered stairway that goes down.
You just carve one while you're there. You got plenty of time. So that was a cool story because you find out the sacrifice that Chef Zeph made for Sanjay, and so that was becomes a mutual kind of respect or gratitude toward each other. So even though they kind of like they grouse at each other a lot, you can tell there's definitely respect behind it.
Yeah, and there was that great scene where you know another sort of a sacrifice where the chef really likes Luffy. You know, everybody likes Luffy. He's one of those people like Pee Wee Herman. You know, he seems like a goofball, but then you go, you know what? That guy never gives up. He's got spirit. He's got a heart.
He has no fear.
No fear.
That's what it is. He's not afraid to fail. He's not afraid. Like that's his big
totally
charm.
Honest.
Such a lesson for the show, and I think about it all the time now. It's like you got to be more like Luffy. You got to like go, I don't care what's going to happen, even if I fail, I'm doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to go for it. It doesn't matter if you fail getting there. It's okay.
Plus that great toothy smile. I mean, how
do you resist that? You can't resist him. He's just so empowering. He thinks you're the coolest thing in the world. How are you not going to say yes to that?
Right. Yeah. He's a true leader. I mean, he's a leader in that way. You know, I think that's why.
When Zeph got to where he was thinking that Sanji really needed to go and get on, have adventures out because he wants to go to the blue. What is it called? The big blue, the something that he dreams about because it's like the chef's dream. It's like a chef's paradise because I guess every kind of fish goes there. And
right.
When if you've been to Japan, the fish culture there. You've been to the fish markets and stuff. There's a huge, fish go for amazing money. There's like the auctions, the fish market auctions. So fish, and traditionally in Japan, fish has always been a very valuable commodity, a very sort of almost a sacred thing, a sacred food source. Yeah. So when you think about it in the story here, when he's talking about going to the, I wish I could remember the name of it, something blue, the blue sea, the big blue something, that's the place where all the different stream, I don't know, the way the ocean flows, it brings all these fish together, the jet streams or whatever, and it brings together all these fish from all over their world. And it's supposedly like that's where all the chefs that dream about going there because you can get all these different kinds of fish.
Yeah.
And so Zeph knows that Sanji wants to go there. That's like his dream.
Yeah.
So he knows that Sanji is so stubborn and is never going to leave the restaurant. So he does this whole thing with all the chefs where he pretends to be, they hate his soup. This is the worst.
Soup is the worst. Horrible.
Yeah. And so and he's like, what the hell? That's really good soup. What's it? And then of course Luffy tastes it and he's like, I like it.
I know Luffy, who has such high standards.
Yeah. And always honest.
I do love that. There's some really funny moments in that where I think I need a shirt that says, "Are you stupid?" Because that's what he says over and over again. You die for restaurant. Are you stupid? Like I love the way Luffy says it.
Yeah.
Are you stupid?
Are you stupid?
It's so funny. But then I love how they pull off this whole charade of like making Sanjay feel like he's terrible. He's not a good cook. You might as well leave because we don't need you. And then it turns out, he knew all along that they were faking him out and that he
overheard
I know
them
you didn't
when he was going back to his room.
And he heard it. He knew that wasn't real. And it's like, okay, okay, I'll leave. But it was kind of sweet.
Yeah. And there was that great moment at the end where he's leaving and the chef is yelling at him and finally he's walking away. He's got his back to him and he's like, go to hell, old man, and then finally there's that one of those great One Piece moments where where a drawing fills you with emotion and he reconsiders it, and he turns around and he bows. He does the bow, with his head on the ground, and he says, "You saved my life, and I owe everything to you."
Yeah,
and that was
very
a really
tearful.
great little. Yeah,
it really was.
Like very tearful stuff. And
yeah.
but there are of course more battles. There's other pirates that pop in.
Lots of great villains.
We haven't even mentioned that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've gotten to the heart-wrenching stuff. We have the
Yeah.
great swordsman, the really great swordsman who comes to challenge Zoro, which was hilarious. Like
Yeah,
Bert,
yeah,
you were
yeah.
talking about how he arrives on this little tiny boat. Just this guy sitting there, and he looks full pirate. Like he's got his cape, and he's got the big ripped abs. The shirt unbuttoned all the way down, looking all. This is so.
And his
funny.
giant sword, his giant anime sword.
The black sword. Was it the black sword? Black sword.
I don't remember if it had a name. Could be.
Well,
but the best swordsman in the world.
But it was kind of a hardcore fight. I mean, technically, I thought I was seeing Zoro get killed. I'm like, he can't be killed. But this was, they show him kind of go slice, and he's all this blood flying. You're like, holy
blood everywhere. There's a lot of hardcore fights in this show.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
Like you really feel the intensity and the pain of these beatings, and like when people get beat up, like there's a few times in this where Luffy gets beat up pretty bad, and you're like, wow, you really get a sense of the pain and the power of being thrown across from one boat to another and smashing into a wall, and very dynamic.
And who was it Pearl that was the one really throwing him around, or was it the
Krieg?
Oh, maybe it was Krieg.
Where
he was because he was blasting him. He kept blasting him with that bomb on a stick. And
he got the spikes in and stuck in.
Oh yeah, he kept pulling those big spikes out of it. Oh, the show, it looks like it's all cute and everything, but it's pretty hardcore.
Well, that's what's interesting about the animation of this, because it has sort of has that cutesy style in some ways, but then you have this violence and this great emotion. Some other anime is very adult looking from the get-go. It looks very hardcore, it looks very violent, looks very scary, whatever. Here it has that sort of dynamic that it could be this close to being a kid's show, like a kid's show. Yeah. Then you throw in all this other stuff that's definitely not for children. No, for adults. So that's what makes it really interesting, as opposed to some other anime. Just that feels like it's for teenagers and older only.
So we have the Krieg fight, which is really intense, right? We had the big crazy Krieg fight that was long. Like I think it was like 3 episodes worth of it. And you see Luke getting tossed around and almost like, I can't breathe. Like he's losing all this blood and you think he's gonna die. And so you have that big fight, but then they throw in another totally bizarro villain, the Pearl.
Yeah.
What the hell?
He gets so mad he catches on fire.
They're all like, it's okay, man. When he sees blood too, it's like it's a little tiny nosebleed, and they're like, it's okay. You can see everybody go, it's gonna be okay, don't worry, it's fine, it's nothing. They're trying to talk him out, but he starts like getting hysterical. He just catches on fire. But I guess when he catches on fire, the pearls start shooting out, or is that just one of his weapons? I don't remember, but it was crazy. That was such a weird character.
The design of that with his big round, he's got this big round shield with a big pearl in the middle, and it's like, he's indestructible, you can't kill him.
I don't know. They have that great scene where he starts exploding and throwing off the explosive kind of pearls, and then you see it heading toward Chef Zeph, and he's just standing there with his one leg looking super cool, and they're just headed right for him, and they're like, do something, and he just takes his leg, goes whoop, whips it around, and they just whoop, drop harmless. Like, I don't know what that's all about, but that was very entertaining. It was so funny.
Like you were saying, the character design in this is so crazy. It's like you don't know. I mean, I kind of, when I watch a lot of science fiction and fantasy and horror and whatever, where there is character design, you don't really talk about character design as much when you're talking about a movie like The Godfather or something. I mean, you have wardrobe design, of course, to define your characters, what kind of suits they wear or what kind of hat.
Right.
But when you go into fantasy and science fiction and things like this, you have character design, where you design a character that has never been seen before, wearing things that you design and have, characteristics and attributes that you design. And this show is so good at that. It lives in a world that is so obviously not our world, and so pushed. The reality is so pushed into this other realm, and you would think that it would not work. if you were to just, if I were to just if I was an artist and I could draw characters and I could draw these characters and then show you, here's my character design, and it was like One Piece characters, you would be like, that's ridiculous. That's you can't
that's so goofy. Work on it.
Yeah, you can't make a show like that. That's too much. Bring it down, make it more real. But they don't on this show. Obviously nobody in the production crew is telling someone, let's bring this down a little bit.
They're in control, creative control. Oh, and I got it backwards. So first they fought Pearl, then they went Krieg. Krieg is big.
Krieg was kind of lurking the whole time.
Yeah, he was kind of in the background. Nowhere knew what his deal was, and then he comes after he kind of recovered. He because I guess he got poisoned or something. But anyway, so the other big scene was, so Luffy's losing this fight, like worse and worse, and so finally they blast him and he falls into the ocean, right? And then
and
like they're all like,
notably,
right? But that's what was so funny. They go, so where's Luffy? And Sanjay's like, where's Luffy? Oh yeah, he can't get in water because he can't swim. He sinks. And he's like, could have told me that before.
Yeah,
we just know that. So like being the big hero, which was amazing. And you didn't even realize he even cared about Luffy that much. He throws off his jacket, dives in the ocean, and rescues him. And Luffy's like this big rescue, just laying on the bottom of the ocean, just like he's dead, right? It's like, oh my god, I'm sitting there going, oh my, I got faked out so many times. I know he's not gonna die, but I'm like, how are they gonna? So he brings him up to the surface. I love that when he brings him up to the surface. He's like, Luffy, this big emotional scene. All of a sudden, he's like just snoring. He's just sleeping.
He always sleeps at the worst time. Every time
he's either eating or sleeping.
Like the time his head got stuck in the sand on the beach that time, it's like they pulled him out, and it's like, don't die, Luffy.
So cute, but it was so cute because you realized that Sanjay actually really likes him, and that's when you knew he was going to be their chef.
He was going to be the chef, and they were going to go to. It's called the All Blue, right?
The All Blue.
That's right.
Yeah,
okay.
The All Blue.
Oh, and in the meantime, their boat was stolen.
Yes,
that's right. She took.
Hilarious, hilarious scene. Where is her Nami? Is I saying Nami?
Nami.
Where they see her standing at the railing too, the goofball pirates who are supposed to be protecting, guarding the ship, and she turns around like, "Oh hi, oh," and they're like, "Gah, gah, gah," like, "Oh my gosh, she's so pretty, oh my god," and she's like, "It's so hot. I need to. Do you mind if I change?" They're like, "Right now." And so they're like, yeah, could you turn around? They're like, oh my god, like they're freaking out about it. They're like, oh my god, and she's all like, oh, it's and so they're like, well, it's been a while. I'm sure she's done. So let's take a peek. The ship's gone. Nice job, guys. And they're like, oh no, this was our only job. I think a full-time girl. It's hilarious. That was such a funny scene. But then she feels kind of bad, which I think is funny. Like she's like, I really like those guys.
She's starting to feel bad, but you're kind of thinking, is she going to go off and have some adventures on her own? Because it seems like the Luffy gang has their own little boat now. I think.
Yeah, they do. It's a cool boat too.
Yeah. So maybe
I'm guessing there's a future arc that'll be a Nami arc.
Well, we've seen her in the live action thing. Seen her there, so she's definitely gonna be in it more. But I like her idea that she's just, I'm a thief. It's what I do. I'm also a navigator, the one that he wants, and he'll forgive her anything because it's what Luffy wants.
Right.
So I thought that was very sweet, But that was a great arc. I super enjoyed it. I mean, I thought I even liked Syrup Village, but I see why people kind of go, "Oh, that was not as good as these," because you see this so much emotion, so much deep like character development in this 10 episode arc. It was really really nicely done.
Well, they do tend to stay in a location for a very long time. Like in the Syrup Village thing, that was that valley, that little ramp valley area. That comes up from the beach. There's that's the only way to get, because there's cliffs on both sides. They spent so much time in that little ramp valley, whatever it was called. And you feel like that was where all the battles took place and people were running back and forth in there. So, and then in this one, the Baratie, they're on, they had some weird thing where the ship, they activate the wings or something, and these two platforms come up, and so it gave them a whole lot of space to have fights, and and then the other pirate ship that got cut in half. There was a bunch of wreckage out there, and I mean it's beautifully drawn, the backgrounds, but they do sort of deposit all their characters into a specific location for that arc,
Is that a budgetary thing? You think does that make any kind of sense? Like if we're just shooting, like it's easier.
Just drawing
budgets don't really play into it with animation. It's like, you know, I mean, a little bit. You just have to, if you want to put it in a different location, you just have to do another drawing.
To design
it,
you know.
But it is interesting that you're right. I mean, like obviously this is like an Oasis ship, so yeah, everything's going to basically happen there. Are the future arcs going to be a little bit more open to a lot of different locations and geography, or is it just, you know, one island or one town or one street? Or you know, who knows?
Yeah, are the arcs location based? Because each of them kind of an area that they're in so far.
Or a look, you know, a style. Because I think when you had Syrup Village, you had, you know, the mansion and the village, as well as that ramp valley thing. So, and there's also that kind of thing that seems to go through the series so far, of this kind of European style, which the Miyazaki stuff does too, where they kind of have this nostalgic feel of the little Norwegian style village, or I don't know what the exact architectural or, you know, style is, but it looks, it's definitely, I mean, so far you really haven't seen a whole lot of, you know, Japanese style architecture or backgrounds or locations. It doesn't really have a Japanese feel to it. It's all pirate stuff. And traditionally in pirate movies, you know, you were in places like the you know, Pirates of the Caribbean, in places like that where the style is kind of French. You know, you got your pirates with their French accents and stuff, and
Barbary Coast and all that kind of stuff. You know,
that's true.
Yeah, it had that look to it. And I think it's kind of trying to call back to that style of old pirate stories, old pirate movies. And
I also think a lot of children. I'll say a lot of children's stuff. And I don't consider this children's, but it's, you know, some children can watch this. It's like has the European sort of is sort of like the background to a lot of those shows. It doesn't look American a lot. It doesn't look you know, Far East. It looks like Willy Wonka. Who knows where that's set, but it definitely feels like it's Germany or something. You know what I mean?
A lot of it, a lot of different feels.
Swiss chocolate or something. It always felt like Willy Wonka was maybe Switzerland kind of cross.
Oh yeah, that could be.
Yeah, I always thought Willy Wonka.
London, Switzerland, the Switzerland area of London.
London or Switzerland or Germany. Many of those.
But that's just a whole one piece vibe. But you're in this whole different experience. And I think the next arc, the fifth arc, is what's that one called?
Arlong Park.
Okay.
That'll be 15 episodes.
So we'll see where we go there.
Yeah, I'm excited. Where are they going to go next? They have their new ship. They're on their way.
They got Sanji. They got to cook. Now they're going to eat good.
And that's what I was saying too. Like, now we can eat.
And I can see why this is very popular and why this has gone on forever, because you just have these, you know, whether it's 3 episodes or 20 episodes, you go to a different place with these characters you love. And some of the characters stay around, some of them leave, new characters come in. So that's just a smart way to keep a show going, you know.
It
and
is.
you can do it with you can do it with animation, you know. You can do it if you have enough creativity, and they obviously
you can do anything with animation. And I think the producers of this show know that. That's one of the things that it's like, why not go into these crazy realms? You know, why not have, you know, a character that can stretch his body? Why not have other bizarre characters that are 12 feet tall and have armor, you know,
made of pearls,
launching armor and
well, the
whatever
arc
else
after the arc after called Buggy Side Stories, only 2 episodes, so that'll be a very short episode. We'll probably combine it with Logtown arc, you know. But that's I think that's part of the genius too of the show, is not only they make really relatable, cool characters, and they all have very interesting side stories and very diverse, you know, personalities, and so you get a very wide range of entertainment that way. But you get different locations and areas to explore in these different chapters, which is one of the reasons I love video games. Is I love the exploration aspect of it. You're in a video game and you go to these new areas, and every time you're in a new area, it just opens up even more. It's even more entertaining. So it's kind of a genius structure overall. So
I agree.
I really
feel that way. I mentioned video games because you got me into, like, years ago, got me into World of Warcraft, and I keep when I'm watching this show One Piece, I keep thinking of World of Warcraft. Because you go from this area and you do all your little quests in this area, and then somebody in that area eventually will say, your quest is to go to this other area and talk to this other person over there. So then you have to go travel to this other area where, you know, you're
love it.
Yeah, and it like the next level, you know. So each time you're, you know, in One Piece, each time they go to a new arc, it's like you've leveled up, you know.
Right.
It's fun too. I feel by watching this and then hearing everybody's comments, which I still can't get enough of. I love hearing from people. Is that now that we're I'm in it and I'm into it, really enjoy watching it. The live action is going to be a whole new like level of entertainment for me, because I'm going to recognize my old friends from the animation.
Yeah.
I'm going to anticipate how they're going to deploy and design the villains and how the different areas are going to look. I'm very excited now because now I get it. I'm going to get in there.
And we also have that comparison as opposed to not watching. We just go in and watch the live action, not knowing anything. Now, at least 30 episodes in, we have an idea of what the show is. You know, so that's.
I'm so glad I'm watching it. You know,
me too.
I mean, just for the fun of it, but also to be able to compare when you watch the live action thing, like you're saying, it's like now you know these people. So when we watch the live action show, it's going to be like we're already have a head start on this world.
Exactly. And I love hearing from everyone else, watching along with everyone else, getting the same kind of excitement. And it's just been, it encourages me even more the way people talk about it. Like they talk about the arcs they like they have season 5 or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, can't wait to get season 5 now.
Yeah. And thank you for those comments, because it helps us steer us, through the early stages of this really long running show. And we'll be obviously reviewing each episode. We're not going to do it, like all 10 at once. We'll do one at a time for the live action starting, which the first episode is August 31st. So we'll do that week to week, or a couple of times a week, so we can give our ideas of that, and also keep up with obviously the original series. So it's a lot of fun. We're enjoying it. Yep. Thanks for checking in as always, and come back again. See us real soon.
Bye
everybody.